I know if you're watching this video right here, you're part of the 1% of people who have a big goal they're trying to achieve in life. And waking up exhausted, tired, and unmotivated simply isn't an option for you. You've got to wake up with some type of energy. You want to wake up with this passion, with this effort, with this intensity to get up and attack your goals. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you my nighttime formula that I've put in place to completely transform my life. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it has transformed my life. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why, one, sleep is so important, but also two, how to put each one of these steps in place. You can improve your sleep so you can wake up with more intensity and more ferocity to get up and attack your goals. But before I uncover what a peak performer's morning looks like, I first want to make sure you understand what sleep actually is. Sleep is recovery. When you're sleeping, your bones, your muscles, your soft tissues are repairing, growing, and strengthening so you can be a bigger, faster, stronger human being. When you're sleeping, your brain is making connections, it's drawing patterns between all the things that you've learned across the day, that you've learned across the week, and it's moving things from short-term memory to long-term memory. Your cognitive and your physical performance depends largely on your quality of sleep. Yes, you're hearing that right. The quality of your sleep pretty much determines the quality of your life. So if you're neglecting your sleep, you're neglecting the best version of yourself. You're neglecting the person that you could be. And one of the biggest traits, the most important traits that I've adopted and what I've seen other high performers adopt is the attention of detail they give to their sleep. And it's not as simple as getting 8 hours of sleep. I'm sure all of you have heard, get 8 hours of sleep. We all know that fact. We've heard it a million times, but for some reason, most people still struggle to go to sleep, stay asleep, and wake up with lightning in their veins. My formula to solve this is very simple. If you follow these 8 rules, I promise you, you will tremendously improve the quality of your sleep and the quality of your life. The first of these 8 rules is to wake up and go to bed at the same time every single day. So your brain and your body follow this thing called a circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is basically this internal clock you have that goes off a 24-hour cycle. It tells your body when to wake up and tells your body when to go to bed. 14 hours after you wake up in the morning, your body is going to naturally start to produce this hormone called melatonin, which is the chemical responsible, or the hormone responsible for making you feel sleepy so you can go to sleep. There's sleep experts out there that dive into this stuff way deeper than I ever could. The sleep experts like Dr. Michael Bruce and Dr. Matthew Walker, they have suggested and recommended us to fall asleep when it gets dark between 9 and 11 p.m. and wake up naturally when the sun rises between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. And this is because your circadian rhythm follows light. When your eyes sense light in the morning, it signals your brain to stop producing melatonin, so you start to wake up. And at nighttime, when it gets dark, melatonin begins to produce, naturally signaling you to become tired so you can fall asleep. More importantly than picking a bedtime is picking a time to wake up in the morning. I wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning because I like to work on my mission for a couple of hours before I go into my day job. That's simply what I just like to do there. You can wake up at 5 o'clock or 6 or 7, whatever time you want to wake up. Bottom line is you need to pick a time to wake up every single morning and wake up at that time every single day. This is going to train your body to naturally get tired at the same time every night and naturally feel more awake and more alert at the same time every morning. Of course, when you're picking these times, try to give yourself anywhere between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Still try to give yourself enough sleep. Don't try to go to bed at 12 o'clock and wake up at 4. That's stupid. So give yourself enough time to actually have a good full night of sleep, but make sure that time is consistent every single day. This is hands down the most important rule. If people just follow this one rule, it would fix the majority of people's sleep problems. Now, the next 7 of these rules are pretty simple, to be honest with you. Rule number 2 is no caffeine 8 hours before bed. Caffeine is taken to wake you up. Caffeine is ingested to make you more motivated, more energized, more awake. And a lot of people are simply just taking caffeine in too late in the day. You see, caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours on average. So, for example, if you drink a 200 milligram Ghost pre-workout drink or scoop of pre-workout that has 200 milligrams of caffeine in it at, say, 5 p.m., 6 hours from now, you're still going to have half of that 200 milligrams in your bloodstream. So you're still going to have 100 milligrams of caffeine in your bloodstream at 11 p.m. when you're trying to go to bed. Now, you probably guessed it. Ideally, You'd like to have 0 milligrams of caffeine in your blood at night, but I'm not a lunatic. I like caffeine too. So I have my morning caffeine when I wake up. About an hour and a half after I wake up in the morning, I'll have my first shot of caffeine to make myself feel alert. So I'm working, I'm more dialed in. And maybe around lunchtime, I have my second shot of caffeine. And if I'm deciding to do that, I try to make sure it doesn't happen after lunchtime, because I still want to give myself 7 to 8 hours to clear out most of that caffeine before I try to go to bed at night at 9 p.m. So if you're going to be ingesting caffeine, if you're going to be taking caffeine on a regular basis like myself, try your best to cut it off 8 hours before the bedtime, 8 hours before you would like to be asleep. Rule number 3 is to stop eating 3 hours before bedtime. Food has a thermogenic effect on your body. So when you eat a meal, your body has to heat up and expend energy to burn and digest this food that's going through your stomach. So as you probably guessed it, when you eat a huge meal and you give your body a lot of work to do right before you go to bed, and it heats you up, you're going to have a really hard time going to sleep. One, because you're going to feel uncomfortable because your food is freaking full and you just laid down, and your body digests better when you're actually standing up. But the second point, which is more important than that, is that in order to fall asleep, your body's internal core temperature has to actually drop by 2 degrees. Naturally, we're about 98.6, most people, most days. So to fall asleep, it has to drop by 1 or 2 degrees. So when you eat this big meal right before you hop in the bed and you're making your body heat up as you're supposed to be cooling down to go to sleep, you're forcing your body to fight against itself. So save yourself the struggle, save yourself the internal battle, and cut off meals 3 hours before bedtime. Now, I know everybody can't do this, myself included. The way my schedule is set up, I have to eat my last meal around 2 hours before bedtime, and sometimes it's like 90 minutes before bedtime. So if you can't make your last meal 3 hours before your bedtime, make sure it's a smaller meal. Don't eat a huge meal. For me, I work out in the afternoons after work, so I just have a high protein, very low carb meal, just enough to satiate my hunger so I can go to sleep. So if you can, stop eating completely 3 hours before bed. If you can't meet that time restraint there, make sure you at least eat a small meal just to satiate your hunger, and still try to make that 1 to 2 hours before bed. Rule number 4 is to have no liquids 2 hours before bed. So you probably see a theme here. No eating 3 hours before bed, no liquids 2 hours before bed. What do you think the 1 hour will be? We'll get into it. Anyways, 2 hours before bed, cut out liquids. And you probably have guessed this part too, but when you drink stuff, when you drink water, when you drink any type of liquid, eventually you're gonna have to pee. And if you drink a lot of fluid, a lot of water right before you go to bed, you're going to be waking up in the middle of the night. And most people's main reason why they wake up in the middle of the night is because they have a bladder on the edge of explosion. Most people spend all day long dehydrated, not drinking any fluids, and then they try to overcompensate at nighttime by drinking a fat, huge glass of water. And this is a terrible idea, because eventually you're going to have to piss that out. So stop drinking fluids 2 hours before bedtime. Make sure you're hydrating throughout the entire day so you don't even feel the need to chug a huge glass of water or any type of fluid by that measure right before bed. Rule number 5, no screens before bed. This goes back to your circadian rhythm. Do you remember how I told you how light tells your brain that it's morning and that it's time to wake up and be alert? So if you have a screen right there in front of your face right before bed, what are you telling your brain? You're telling your brain it's daytime. That screen, that little small screen, I know it's only a small 6-inch by 2-inch or 3-inch rectangle, however big a freaking phone is nowadays. You're making your brain think it's morning and it's time to get up and be active. So 1 hour before bedtime, move your phone, close the laptop, turn off the TV, remove all lights an hour before bedtime, especially screens, especially these handheld screens. That is the worst thing you could possibly do. I know a while ago, before I got into starting to care about my sleep and my personal development, I would scroll on TikTok right before I went to bed. I would wonder why I couldn't fall asleep. It would lead me to this feeling of being like wired, but tired. I knew I was exhausted. I knew I was ready to go to bed. I felt really tired, but I could not go to sleep. Why is that? The light's telling my brain it's daytime, which means if your brain thinks it's daytime, it's not going to produce melatonin. Melatonin, once again, is what you need to fall asleep. So if you're confusing your brain with a screen in your face before bed, you're killing your sleep. So remove screens completely 1 hour before bedtime. Allow your body to naturally produce the melatonin it needs to fall asleep. Another major reason why people can't fall asleep at night is racing thoughts and anxiety. So the next 3 rules are to relax you, lower your anxiety, and allow your brain to rest knowing you have a plan of attack for the next day. So rule number 6 is nightly planning and reflection. Make it a habit to write down every single night. Carve out a section of your time every single night to write down exactly what you're going to do the next day. When you wake up, you do not need to be making decisions. All the decisions, all the thoughts you have racing when you lay down at night can be solved by sitting down at a desk or at your table or in a chair with a pen and a piece of paper and writing down exactly what you have to do the next morning or any thoughts you have in your mind. Empty it onto a piece of paper and plan out your entire next day. Because once your head hits that pillow, it's time to go to sleep. And if you have things on your mind that you know you need to do tomorrow and you don't have it written down, you don't have it in a calendar, your brain doesn't want to forget it. So if you write this down in some form of a plan, preferably a piece of paper, I use paper and a Google Calendar, you're going to allow your brain to rest knowing that even if you do forget it, you have it on paper right there on your desk or it's in your Google Calendar so you don't forget it. In addition to your planning, you want to have some time to reflect, about 10 to 15 minutes. This whole process of planning and reflection should take no longer than 10 to 15 minutes. Another thing I like to do and what I see other peak performers doing is taking this time to write down what went well today. Where did you go wrong today? And also write down what am I going to do tomorrow to make sure tomorrow is better than today was. In the same time slot of 10 to 15 minutes, you need to deeply imagine what it's going to feel like when you achieve that goal. Deeply feel that winning feeling. Feel that dopamine, feel that energy that you're going to get once you achieve that goal. This visualization piece may sound like roo-rah, but it's important because every single night you're not going to get the best sleep. And this is myself included. I don't always sleep like a freaking angel. I know this video is about helping you sleep better so you can wake up with more energy, but you're not always 100% of the time going to get excellent sleep. So what comes in, what do we do when sleep isn't perfect? You have to visualize. You have to keep that goal you have top of mind. You have to never let yourself forget why you're doing this, why you're grinding, why you're waking up in the morning and doing something that you don't have to do. So by you visualizing and reminding yourself that feeling you're going to feel when you achieve this goal, you're going to give yourself the energy and motivation you need to crawl out of bed, even on a bad day. You have to have this vision. So take the time to plan your entire day, not waking up, making decisions, being all confused, emptying your mind onto pieces of paper before you're going to bed so you don't have racing thoughts. Take the time to reflect on what went well, what went bad, and what you're going to do tomorrow. And also take the time to deeply imagine the feeling you're going to feel when you achieve that goal. You do this, you're going to allow your brain to rest, knowing that every decision you have to make tomorrow is already made today. Make the decisions tonight, lower your anxiety, allow your brain to rest peacefully, knowing that you have a plan of attack and a mission that you know exactly how to accomplish when you wake up first thing in the morning. Rule number 7 is reading every single night for about 20 to 30 minutes. Why do I read? I'm not encouraging you to pick up a book and just to try to learn about something random. Yes, when I'm reading, I am absolutely learning and expanding my knowledge, but that's not the entire reason why I read. I read because when you read, you force your brain to focus on one topic, one idea. You remember when you were in school and the teacher asked you to read, or maybe the teacher had like a 5-minute or 10-minute reading block where you read some boring article in some book you didn't care about, and before you know it, you're like yawning and you're exhausted. It's because when you read, Whether you want to read something that's interesting or you don't want to, when you focus your brain on one thing, your brain is going to get tired and relaxed because it's using less energy, because it's not focused on the car that you need to fix, or the bill you need to pay, or the girl you've been thinking about talking to, or the work you have to do in the morning. When you focus on that one thing, you block out all the other things you have in your mind. When you truly focus, your brain is allowed to relax so you can go to sleep. And finally, for rule number 8, it's slow and deep breathing. And this is a technique called the 4-7-8 technique I've learned from Dr. Michael Breus. It's a deep breathing exercise that lowers your heart rate, calms your mind, relaxes your body, allowing you to fall into deep sleep. And it's very simple. You breathe in for 4 seconds, counting out the numbers inside of your head. You want to hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you want to release your breath for 8 seconds. So breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and release for 8 seconds. Now, I will be honest, I don't do this every single night, but on the nights where I really am struggling to fall asleep, I'll do this 4-7-8 technique for about 10 cycles. And I promise you, every single time without fail, given that I followed the other 7 rules before this, I will be asleep before I even get to that 10th cycle. It's crazy. Breathe in for 4, hold for 7, release for 8. And before you even get to that 10th cycle, you are cashed like a baby. For a lot of you guys, you may be following a lot of these rules already without knowing it. But if you aren't following every single one of these rules, it's going to be worth your time to at least try implementing all 8 of these rules and seeing if you can improve the quality of your sleep and the quality of your life. Now, there's plenty of other tips and tricks I could give you, or more rules to follow I could give you that would improve the quality of your sleep and help you wake up with more energy. But if you just follow these 8 rules and did nothing else, I guarantee you the quality of your sleep and the quality of your life will improve tremendously, and you will be able to wake up with the ferocity in your soul and lightning in your veins to go out and attack your goals and become the person, become the version of you know you are capable of being. These are 8 rules that every peak performer I know either follows or they know they should follow, and they try their best to follow it as much as they possibly can. And it's definitely the 8 rules that have helped me myself get to where I am. Now, if you're somebody watching this video and you want to further improve the quality of your mind, the ferocity that you take when you're trying to attack your goals, I'm going to be dropping a link to 30 mindsets in 30 days. This is 30 mindsets that I have installed into my life and that I have instilled into every client I've worked with to make them become a peak performer, help them to get in the best shape of their life, help them to figure out what direction they want to take in their life, get a clarity, a clear vision on their goals, and of course, build the mindset it's going to take to get you to that goal. No matter what your goal is, these 30 mindsets in 30 days, which are absolutely free, by the way. So if you want to become a peak performer, click the top link in the description of this video, enter your name, enter your email. I'll send that first lesson over to you right away, and you can start to really make a change and become the peak performer you know you could be. Regardless, I do appreciate you watching, and I hope you come back to the next video. Let's go.